Hi and welcome. My name is Stephanie. I'm a mom of 2 with baby number 3 on the way. I'm also a certified prenatal yoga teacher, and today I wanted to talk to you about the do's and don'ts of yoga when it comes to pelvic girdle pain. Pelvic girdle pain, also known as PGP or Symphysis Pubis Dysfunction, aka SPD, is a really common condition that pops up during pregnancy. It is certainly not exclusive to pregnancy. It can pop up during any stage of life, but it does impact a lot of women during their second and third trimesters. Yoga is one of the activities that can generally be practiced safely when you are suffering from pelvic girdle pain, and when done correctly, it can even help improve some of your symptoms as well as address some of the underlying causes. However, there are certain categories of yoga poses to avoid, and those are the ones I want to talk about today. The first category of pose to avoid is any single leg balance. So think your tree pose, eagle pose, warrior 3, half moon, anything that has you putting all of your weight on a single leg could lead to some acute pelvic girdle pain in the moment and could generally aggravate your PGP symptoms. Instead, I recommend opting for poses that keep your weight evenly distributed across both legs. Think things like mountain pose with your feet about hips width distance apart, or chair pose, again with a slightly wider stance, your feet about hips width distance apart, maybe even a little bit wider if you need to make space for baby. If you're looking to incorporate balance practice into your yoga classes, you could try taking variations of these poses on your tippy toes, such as coming down into chair and then going up onto your toes into drinking bird. The second category of pose to avoid is any asymmetrical pose that has you taking a really wide stance. So think low lunge, high lunge, warrior 1, warrior 2, triangle, and all of the variations of those poses. When you take that really wide stance, it's going to likely aggravate your pelvic girdle, which is already feeling really sensitive. Instead, you could try taking variations of these poses from your knees. So warrior 2 on your knees, you could opt for a gate pose instead of a reverse warrior. In all of these cases, you're generally going to have one knee directly under your hip, and thus your stance is going to be a lot more narrow, which is less likely to aggravate your pelvic girdle. The third category of pose you want to avoid is any symmetrical wide-legged stance, especially ones that has you spreading your hips wide. So think about goddess, your yogi squat, your wide-legged forward fold, or your seated wide-legged forward fold. Even your butterfly pose could be aggravating. Instead, to strengthen your inner thighs, you could opt for poses like clamshells, which have your hips narrow but is still giving a good workout to your inner groin muscles. To stretch the inner thigh and inner groin, I recommend you focus on one leg at a time. You can do poses like figure 4 to stretch just one inner thigh at a time before switching legs to stretch the other side. Finally, the fourth category of pose to avoid is simply anything that feels uncomfortable. Pelvic girdle pain is a spectrum of symptoms. Some days you might feel better, some days you might feel worse. If something doesn't feel good today, don't practice it. That doesn't mean you won't be able to practice it tomorrow or even next week, especially as your symptoms continue to improve. It just means that today it's not right for you. Some yoga poses that I tend to find are really gentle on the pelvic girdle and can generally be practiced regardless of how severe your symptoms are include downward facing dog, child's pose, and cat and cow or pelvic tilts. And that's it for today's prenatal yoga tips. If you're currently suffering from any pelvic girdle pain, then I feel you, mama, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more prenatal yoga videos and tips and tricks just like this. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye!